My name is Maciej Treder. I will tell that one more time. Everybody is asking how to pronounce it, and nobody knows. But I am the last person who cares about that. This is my handle, under which you can find me on any social network which I am available. On my daily basis, I am working for Akamai Technologies. I'm from Krakow in Poland. Akamai is a content delivery network with the headquarters in Cambridge, United States. What we are doing, we are just serving the traffic of our customers to their customers. And as it was said today, I'm going to speak a little bit about end-to-end testing of the single-page applications and how we are doing that, in fact, at Akamai. But first, let's ask ourselves a question: why do we test an application? So you could imagine that, for example, you are going to install an application from the App Store and you are going to give it a try. And it's not working on my first time. If this is an application written by a company which I completely don't know, I am just throwing it away and I will never ever come back to it. So if you are a small company, if you have a small product, if you have a narrow group of customers, you have just only one chance to impress them. Even if you're working for the good and recognized company, you can really quickly become a meme actor. And I would like to show you the presentation of the product, which was made by one of the well-known car company. What they did is the system which should automatically brake when it sees something in front of the car. So this is how the presentation was looking in front of journalists. Congratulations, Volvo, you are just become a man. And I think that this particular event took place something like 10 years ago, and I still remember that. So in software, what we are going to test? This is the second question. Nowadays, the systems are really, really complicated. In most cases, you have some DB database or another persistence layer in the background, which is speaking with microservice, which probably ships with some front end, which is really often the single-page applications. A single-page application that communicates with the other service and yet another, and the front end, they are always communicating with everything, and the disaster is coming. So today I want to focus on this particular case, the testing in isolation, the single-page application which often ships together with small microservice. Maybe it's communicating with some other services. So how you are testing front-end stuff? So first of all, you want to cover all major browsers which are available on the market. Thanks to good old Selenium, you are able to automate these tests. And thanks to Selenium Grid, you are able to execute them on remote machines, on remote desktops. Selenium comes with support for several languages which are available on the market, for Python, for Java and JUnit, for JavaScript together with Protractor. And this is what I want to focus today, because the Protractor with Node.js is the configuration which I strongly advise you to use with single-page applications. Because nobody likes JavaScript, it's hard to debug and hard to work with it. You don't have checked exceptions, you don't have check typing and so on. The solution is a Typescript. It's a language which is built by Microsoft. It's on top of the JavaScript. It's a superset of JavaScript, so it contains all of the functionalities of the previous releases of JavaScript. It's compiled to JavaScript, and the addition which you get is strongly typing, it's object-oriented, you get a lot of layers of abstractions, you can introduce interfaces, abstract classes, static fields, and so on and so on and so on. It works perfectly together with Protractor, which is built on top of WebDriver.js and is shipped by Google and Angular team. They gave it to the community with the Angular application in the back of their hand. But as far as I know, it's worked perfectly with other single-page applications. So anything what is in the browser, in fact, could be tested with Protractor. Another thing, another technology which I have in the stack is Jasmine. This is a behavior-driven framework to organize tests in the JavaScript. So we will have a nice overview of the test, how it's working. And finally, the Selenium. There is a really nice project which is named WebDriver Manager. You can download it from the NPM. How many of you are familiar with Node.js and NPM? Okay, so I'm not going to tell what is that. So quickly, NPM is a repository with packages for Node.js. So you can download the WebDriver. It's just working out of the box. So with Protractor, let's set up the NPM project. That's the first thing. Just initialize it. Install some basic dependencies, so the language which you are going to use, types from Jasmine, prepare the configuration for the Typescript compiler. You are placing in the tsconfig.json file. What you need to specify here is the output directory, libs which you are going to use, and exclude directories which you don't want to compile. After that, you need to specify the minimal configuration for Protractor. I'm placing it in conf.ts. So here I am saying Protractor, where are my test files? What is the pattern for tests? I am specifying the browser, telling the Protractor what is the address of the grid on the Selenium grid of which I'm going to test, and finally say what is the framework. This is the minimum which you need to do. Right now, we are ready to use the Jasmine to write something, so we can go on with describe, which is a method used for grouping the suite of cases. Inside such describe, you can use before all, which is of course executed before everything in the suite, before each, and finally the particular test is used with the it method. Inside we have that behavior-driven fact, so expect what to be, for example, equal, to be same, to be equal, to be close to be greater, and so on and so on and so on. So our basic test would look like that. So first, let's say hello world. Later on, something what will for sure fail, and something for what will be always fail, always pass. So we are ready to hit the red button. I'm always looking like that when I'm going to do that. This is my moment when I'm going to production or someone is asking me if we are ready. There is no bugs, everything is okay. I'm looking like this man. But fortunately, everything works like expected. So of course I don't want to show you some really easy and just two-liners of tests. I prepared the application which you can find out under this link. I forgot to mention in the beginning, all of the code snippets which I have in this presentation are available on the GitHub. I'm going to provide you the link at the end. This application is also available in the GitHub, so I more than encourage you to follow me on Twitter or anywhere else where I'm going to post that, so you will be able to check that all on your end. So the application, like always, the to-do app, where you can define your tasks and take a look what you've done so far. We are going to test it a little bit. Let's start with the basics one. So what Protractor gives us is a bunch of objects which can be imported from the Protractor library, and based on those you are creating the HTML nodes, the objects which are representing nodes inside the DOM of the browser. So we can create a menu container targeting the HTML node by tag name. Below we are going to find something by CSS as well. You can use XPath and any other popular formats of locators. Then we have a before all mentioned from the Jasmine, so we are going to navigate inside the application. And finally we can go with our test. So we expect menu to be present on the page, and a part of that we expect menu to work. So whenever we click something, we expect the page to change. So we are checking if the page title changed to the desired output. But this test is a little bit not readable, I would say. It's a lot of code here, and it could be much simpler. So this is where we are introducing the page objects. So what page objects are, you probably know from the other frameworks and other languages. Those are just classes which represents parts of the page or the entire page. So here you can see the menu, which is always on the page. So that would be my component. A part of that, we have something what is changing in the application. Together with the part, which is quite common for both pages, it just have a different text inside. So title is as well on the to-do page as on the done page. There is a difference just in the content of it. So let's start with the menu. I'm going to create it, as I said, I'm going to name it component to just move the logic outside of the test the logic of my model. I can use the hard-coded constructor with the tag name of menu. I can put the container here and method for retrieving the elements in the menu. So now inside my test, instead of those lines, which are not super nice, I can replace them with something much more clear. The same thing I can do for the rest of the page. So because I have this title, which is common, and as I said, Typescript brings for me the more layers of abstraction, I can define the abstract class inside which I will keep the things which are common for all of the pages, and I'm going to extend this class with the derived ones to implement the behavior which the abstract class is expecting from the child classes. So let's take a look at the to-do page, where I can, when I am implementing the abstract method of isOnPage, let's check it in action. Oh, and done page as well, I need to implement all of the abstract methods. And right now, I can change the not really nice looking expectations and the page locator which I had inside to something much more clear, which looks like that. So I'm just initializing my to-do page here and using the methods which I prepared inside the page object class. So here we got the rest of the to-do page. So we could introduce more tests here, like checking if all of the elements are here, and so on and so on and so on. And as you can see, there's some action finally which we are doing inside the application. So we are trying to save, in fact, something, and we have a comment which says that something should be done here, that we are still something missing. So why do we need the cleanup? Of course, it's more than obvious that after a couple of tests, after a bunch of time, finally our application would start to look like that. So the good practice is to leave the application in the same state as you met it when you started your job. Because Protractor is running on top of Node.js, you are able to use all of the Node.js mechanisms which are shipped with. So you can introduce the HTTP calls there. And this particular application, under the hood, is making the HTTP calls to the backend which are deployed on the Heroku. And for example, whenever you click save on the to-do, it's making the post call. If you want to delete a task, here you need to believe me, there is a delete method on the same endpoint where you are just describing the task and its ID which you want to remove. So let's go with the model. Really simple thing. The question mark here means that this field is not necessary, that it's an optional one. So the compilation won't fail if this. You won't get a runtime error if you won't have an object with the ID field. And now we can consume it in the HTTP service. I like to use observables. I don't know why. I just like them. Maybe because I like to be consistent when I'm making the HTTP calls and WebSocket calls, etc. I like to stick with one thing. But because this is HTTP call, I'm just making using the toPromise to automatically subscribe to my calls, so they will be immediately performed. Now, in my spec, in the test where I was missing the cleanup, I can use this service and delete the task which I just created with the test. Moreover, inside the HTTP server service, let's add the post method, which will create which will create the object. I want to create it with the HTTP servers for other tests, because, for example, if the functionality of adding new thing doesn't work, I want to at least check different stuff, like, for example, it displays something, my application. So I'm trying to make my test as granular as possible, even if those are end-to-end tests. So now I can use with the before each my new method, create task, and after each, clean after the test. Okay, the next step, reporting. So everybody likes reports, especially managers. They like numbers, they like pies, they like to know what is going on. They don't understand the written text. They need to have a picture, like a 5-year-old baby. So Protractor ships also with the support for reporting. And when you are doing that, it's we are coming back to the configuration file. This is the configuration file of Protractor, and here we are declaring two new methods: the onPrepare and onComplete. And those methods will be executed before even Jasmine will come to the action. So before every suite and after, before all of the suites and after of all of the suites. So in the onPrepare, we can start with the performing some actions on the directory in which we want to keep the reports. After that, we are going to add a new reporter which will produce the XML reports in the shape like JUnit do that. After that, we can add another reporter, so you can add as much reporters as you need. There can be customized based by you, so you can make your own, like, for example, reporting something directly to the tracking tool like Jira and so on. Here I am using the reporter which will make a screenshot for me after each test. So this is how it's looking. Apart of that, we are going to implement the onComplete. So when the whole execution of the test is done, we are going to take the XMLs which we get from all of each test, wrap them all together to produce the HTML with the screenshots inside. And thanks to that, you can see that when you are testing, if you are not able to add the empty form, you have a screenshot on which you see that the error message is displayed for you. Last but not least, Jenkins. And here, what Jenkins is, it's just the idea is that you have your code in some Git source and you want to execute it on your daily basis or daily manner automatically, and this is what Jenkins helps you with. So in Jenkins, of course, you can run the node, which is running the Selenium grid, and it's running the particular WebDriver instances, whichever you describe in your configuration. But why am I mentioning this? Because this is quite straightforward, and I would be surprised if someone here don't know the Jenkins. There is a pitfall with Selenium, and it's not a Selenium and the Protractor or Selenium and JavaScript. This is Selenium at all. What I strongly advise you is to create a Docker environment on which you will keep all the instances of Grid and Node and Jenkins. So keep it on the different machines, keep it on the different Docker images, but on one machine. So you would have troubles with timeouts in communication between Selenium and your Node.js machine. That was the problems which we were running really often at Akamai, and that was our solution. There is, for example, this nice thing which is named Portainer. This is a free client which can support you with managing your Docker images. So now, to execute our tests on Jenkins, we need to slightly update the configuration files. So we are just introducing the environment variables, which are specifying the browser on which we want to run the test. And because probably the Jenkins is running the WebDriver on some different host than you are running on your machine, we are introducing the static method, which is just checking the available instance of the grid from the provided URLs. So now the configuration is, this project is ready to be parameterized and run it on Node.js. As I promised you, here you can find the repository where all of that project is wrapped up. So this is the SHA of the recent commit, which I created today. So this is exact commit which covers what we had here. One more time, that this is where you can find me under this nickname. And thank you. We have plenty of time. Whoa, I was really quick.
Some questions?
Yeah, I think we can go on with questions if there are any.
A few questions, maybe, yes.
So, I have a question. So, how does Protractor work with async calls? For example, if a button is already displayed on the page and the JavaScript behind is not there, so does he wait? Does he click on it? Nothing happens? Or
yeah, this is why I strongly encourage Protractor, because Protractor have automatical waits inside. So, because as you probably know, HTTP is a stateless protocol, so whenever the page is making a call, it needs to get some response. And Protractor is taking care of waiting for all of that calls to be done. So you don't need any additional logic, or I would say in 95% of cases, you don't need any workarounds and so on. It's just working out of the box. It's waiting for the code.
Any more questions? Then thanks Maciej for this wonderful
you.
lecture, and I want to remind everyone to rate this session at Eventify. And we have a break for 11 minutes. Thank you.